there's only one game to talk about, so let's go ahead and talk about it.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right.
I don't like that.
You hear that, Jesse? You're last. You're last. You're last.
Listen, Jesse, if you ain't first, you are last. That's a hard truth to realize, but welcome to the new world.
Okay, I'm all right with Georgia winning just to watch Jesse in this moment of despair. I'm all right with this.
I cried.
As you should have.
I cried too. It was a little bit different tears, but yeah, it was, yeah.
I was around people that don't know me that well.
Yeah.
That like we just became friends, and they're like, "Let's watch the game together."
Oh gosh, did they say it like that?
And then Jesse decided, I'm never watching the game with you again.
Right.
No, I won't. No,
instant
I
enemies.
And I'm just like, and I'm like cleaning up my stuff, and they're like, "Are you? Oh, it's gonna be okay." I was like, "I know it's fine. I know it's illogical, and I didn't play. I'm gonna go home." And they're like,
"It's what fandom's all about."
I don't know if they're gonna want to hang out with me anymore.
Yeah.
They're Clemson people. They don't get it.
Oh yeah. I mean,
should get it. They've been there.
They did for a little bit there. Not so much lately.
Like South Carolina fans or something.
There was a few of those, but like Clemson is like new money. They're like
they're just kind of they got to get used to it. It's like they don't understand the etiquette of it. So anyway,
they're still holding on to the last couple of years. That's all they like can say.
Yeah. Anyway, this was obviously an intense game with Georgia winning 33-18. I was the only one to pick Georgia.
Wait, say it again.
33-18. Winning 33-18. That's right.
Just want to make sure I heard you right.
Yeah. No, you got it.
Okay. I've been conditioned to be on the losing end of that for a lot of time, so I want to make sure I wasn't dreaming.
Hey,
every
there with
Georgia
you.
fan woke up Tuesday morning thinking, "Was this a dream?" Am
Exactly.
I wrong?
I woke up the same way.
I did have to think about it for a little bit. Yeah, I'm there with you.
Nightmares are dreams too.
I told because Matt and I watched the game at a restaurant here close by, and I believe it was in the third quarter. And I looked at Matt and I was like, "Dude, this is not good for my heart." I was like, "It's just insane." But like,
neither was the buffalo chicken dip. But here we are.
Well, this is true. We were just talking about that earlier, and I can't say no to it. I'm not gonna lie, but the first half
likes to live dangerously.
That's right. The first half was wild. I mean, like. It felt like one of those deals where the game was like on the edge of a knife, ready to just fall full force, like one way or the other. Both offenses, it's like they couldn't loosen up. It was 9-6 at half, which, by the way, apparently the strategy to beating Bama is you need to be losing at halftime, not winning. So I don't know if that's
should have been a bad omen for Jesse when it was 9-6.
It was. I kid you not.
Should have been a bad omen.
Brought up. Someone was like, "This reminds me of the LSU game of 2011." I was like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up."
And I actually have that in my notes here, reminiscent of the 2011 regular season game between them.
Well,
but yeah,
and it's funny to compare to that too, because that was the 9-6 game was in regular season, and we obviously lost to LSU at home. I was there; it was awful. And then we went on to be in the national championship with them. We were still in the BCS era at that point. And they didn't get past the 50-yard line. We dominated them. And so it goes back to that, what we were talking about last week. It's so hard to beat a team twice in one season. You've seen each other. You're more comfortable. It's super hard. So going into this game, I had those nerves because we had beaten them already. And I just wasn't sure that we'd be able to do it again. And obviously we didn't. So
can't do it.
I'd say that was the best defense I'd ever seen, the 2011 defense, before the revolution of football spinning up. And now I think it's our defense. But I give credit to Bama, that 2011 defense. We watched film on them. They were nasty, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously on a big pass play earlier in the second quarter, Jamison Williams went down with an injury. It turned out to be a torn ACL. Likely had a big impact on the game. But like I was telling Matt, even when it happened, I was like, I just kept thinking about like all the players that have come off the bench for Bama to beat us over the years. And I was like, in my mind, the defense, the offense, nobody can relax right now. Just because a playmaker is out, like that doesn't mean anything.
So sad.
Thankfully, early diagnosis seems to indicate that with surgery, Williams will make a full recovery and not lose his speed. So, keep that stock as well. So second half was like a different animal though. Like both teams loosened up a little bit. It seemed like Georgia began to run the ball with some success in the third. But to me, the huge turning point in this game was after the Stetson Bennett fumble, which I thought was a really tough call, which set up Bama super short field, resulted in a 3-yard touchdown pass from Bryce Young to Cameron Latu to make it 18-13 after the failed 2-point conversion with 10-14 left in the game. But to me, the biggest moment was right after that, where instead of trying to be conservative, right, Stetson's just made a mistake. Instead of trying to be conservative, Monken opened up the playbook and let him throw it all over the field on the very next drive, finishing with that 40-yard touchdown pass to Mitchell to make it 19-18 Georgia after, a failed 2-point conversion as well. But Georgia was able to get a stop right after that, come back down, and like that, the design of that pass play to get Bowers open over there on the left. Oh man, that was fantastic. And
tight ends, baby.
Yes, I was going to say, I knew you could
tight
appreciate
ends,
that.
Baby.
So that got the lead to 26-18 with 3:33 left in the game. Still one possession game though. Like I was telling Matt, like I'm still not relaxing. I was like,
Jesse sees what's coming. And
it's a one possession.
I know the ending of the story. I hate this story.
And I was like, I am not.
Hey, Jesse, you know what I hated? I hated second 26 for 5 years, but you're gonna have to deal with it because that's what big girls and former champions do. Former champions.
Right. But yeah, it's like don't relax. But Bryce Young tried to lead him down the field to tie it. But on a 3rd and long, he threw one. I think he probably wouldn't attempt that one again, looking at the coverage. And it was intercepted by freshman Keely Ringo, who gathered a convoy, who escorted him to the end zone to kind of put the game away.
Wes, you mean this play?
That's the one right there.
You mean that one, right? Okay.
That's the one. I
recognize
that.
I just want to make sure that was the right play you're talking about. Okay. Cool.
Now I know David Pollack said he looked up in the stands right after this, and like over half of the grown adults in the stands are just in tears. Because it's been 41 years, right? With heartbreaking losses and what seemed like newly invented ways to lose every time. But man, like what a story for Stetson Bennett. As I mentioned before, like he's been doubted by people his entire career. I've even, doubted him, of course, as it's, documented on this show. But I do think that he was the guy for the moment, obviously, not just because he won, but because, he's the guy who got him there. I felt he deserved it. I mean, how could you do anything else? But he's a 2-star recruit who is ranked 104th in the national QB recruiting rankings and 2,569th overall. Like those numbers are such outliers in comparison to the other national championship winning quarterbacks in recent memory.
Hey, still ranked higher than me.
Well, I mean, it's like when you look at the stats of other championship winning quarterbacks, like this is the huge outlier. I don't know if we're going to see something like this, at least anytime soon. Of course, who knows, but it still seems surreal to me. And with that, I'm done. That's all I've got for now. Jesse, I've been in your shoes more times than I care to count. Once in the national title game and countless other times. I know there's never a quote unquote good time to talk about this, but what are your thoughts on the game?
I'm just glad we didn't do it yesterday. I don't know if I would have been as composed yesterday. I'm glad we took the time to let me process.
I didn't text you a lot on purpose. I wanted to just you had that space.
Jesse did good. She had really short text to me, which I knew she was in her feelings. So I understood
my feelings. But the sun did rise yesterday, surprisingly. I'm not going to stop thinking about the blocked field goal and that failed 2-point conversion for a long time. It's fine. I was a little surprised we went for 2. I understood it, but I was a little surprised on that one. Heck of a play to Georgia to block that field goal. That was also huge. Mm-hmm. And
Jalen Carter, a beast.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from the game, despite everything, obviously it was a crazy game. It was exciting to watch. It was stressful to watch, regardless of what side you were on, even if you didn't even like either team. It was just a good game to watch, which I feel like a lot of people didn't think it was going to be. For some reason, people thought, Bama would run away with it, and we didn't, obviously. But my biggest takeaway was the way that, number one, I really appreciated Kirby Smart asking about Jamison Williams. I thought that was really classy when the coaches met in the middle of the field. So kudos to him. I think that was a really great way to kind of end it. And then in Saban's presser, I mean, you can tell, you can read the room, and I think he read the room really well. You have two team leaders that are sitting next to you that, number one, they know the mistakes that they've made. They are more disappointed and more frustrated than any fan is ever going to be. And then you have a group of reporters that are going to ask all these questions about what could you have done better and da-da-da-da-da. And they're focusing, rightfully so, on this one game. And for coach to say, like, hold on a minute, we're going to stop this right now before we leave. Like, let's say one thing. These men are not measured by one game. None of the teams are. Georgia's not measured by one game, whether they would have lost either. They had an incredible season. And these two young men did as well. And I think as a Bama fan, we should all be very proud the fact that we have a Heisman Trophy winner this year as a sophomore. We have an SEC title, which is huge. We have a Cotton Bowl win, among countless other individual awards. So for a team that everyone thought at the beginning of the season and after the loss to A&M that we were a down year, it was not going to be what it was, the Bama of old was gone. I think we should all be really, really proud of this team and what they were able to do and put together, rally after a Texas A&M loss, because this was a hell of a season. And, regardless of who won, the SEC still won. And I think we needed to show people, after all of those bowl losses that everybody else had, that the SEC is still a super strong conference. So I'm really, really proud of that. And I think we all know that Nick Saban doesn't like to lose, and he comes back stronger than ever. So the revenge tour starts now.
I'd be perfectly willing to put up with a revenge tour if it means being able to have this moment right here. So, but yeah, no, they definitely don't have to hang their heads at all. Great season for one that they weren't necessarily expected to. A lot of young guys on the team. So, Matt, what are your thoughts, my friend, as a person who doesn't have a dog in the fight?
As an impartial party that hates both teams. I thought. I mean,
okay, man. It feels like 98 here in Athens. So
I'm glad it. Yeah, it ain't felt like 98.
But no, I like that you. I like that you hate us both, because for somebody that's like, oh, I'm impartial, but like, I don't mind this one. I like that you have a hatred for both. I think it's a good opinion to have.
I told Wes, what did I say to you when we were sitting at dinner? I said, I made a very hyperbolic statement about how my hatred for University of Georgia, and I can't remember what
I don't remember it either.
But let me be very clear and put this on the record. I hate UGA. No offense, Jack. There is no bounds to the vitriol.
I have a lot of bad memories of Tennessee, so it's okay.
And that's okay. It's but we can all be respectful adults and not start fighting each other.
We can agree to disagree. It's a great.
We can agree to disagree. By the way, and West didn't bring it up, but there were the brewings of a fight happening between two very drunk individuals at the place we were eating at.
I left and I tried not to look. One of those moments where you don't actually want to end up being a witness to anything, so you just don't look. That's what I did when I was leaving and pulling out of the parking lot. But yeah, it was an interesting atmosphere there. Anyway, continue.
It was very pro Georgia, but anyway, as an impartial party, this is probably one of the best national championship games I've seen in a really, really long time.
Yeah.
If I went back down the list of the ones that we've seen just in the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years, I don't remember one being this good. This thing was a defensive battle. I felt like I was watching an SEC championship from like 1988. Like, it was great. Both teams played a heck of a game. I really feel that the losing both wide receivers for Bama is what really made the difference here. No offense to UGA. Tua's been gone for a minute. Sorry about that. Bryce didn't have a chance to really stretch the field because of that, I feel. And he dropped back, what was it,
57 times.
Yeah, is that on par for him, Jesse? That seems like
not that much. Usually, I mean, our O-line has not been the O-line that has been in the past, and our right tackle gets beaten most of the time, regardless of which right tackle you put in. But no, he drops back a little bit, but not
Wasn't it the
I
high
don't feel
40s
like-
in the SEC championship? Something like that.
Yeah, I think he usually floats around those high 30s, mid 40s, somewhere in there. So that was an outlier that I noticed when I was looking at the stat line. But kudos to Georgia's defense. I mean, they were playing like men possessed in that second half.
They were.
Bama couldn't get anything. I mean, they got a little bit going there, but defense suffocated anything that got close. The fact that the score was 9-6 going into halftime was a testament to how good both of those defenses played. The story with Stetson Bennett is a great one. Again, if I can take my feelings out of the equation, I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to have a crap ton of Stetsons and Bennetts in my classes in about 10 or 12 years, because they're going to be out in droves, I'm sure.
There'll be a lot of Stetsons and Keeleys in Athens hospitals where my wife works at.
I guarantee, and not you check
Guarantee it.
you check the rosters in 9 months. I bet there's going to be quite a few. And I'm curious as to where we go from here. Is this a one-off like it was at LSU 2 years? Was last year? 2 years ago? 2 years ago? Is this a one-off for Georgia? Is this the only shot they got? Or is this the turning of the page on the chapter of Bama and moving on to Georgia? The whole back and forth and the who's up top and who's in charge is interesting to see, because you can kind of feel like it's starting to shift a little bit. Saban is getting up there. The man is an immortal. He is not. He's gonna have to retire. He's gonna have to retire at some point. So
he's got 2 fake hips.
I know he's good for another 60,000 miles or 10.
Yep.
Was it 6,000
oil
miles?
change.
I don't remember. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go from here. I feel like the pecking order has kind of been reset a little bit with Georgia actually getting over that hump. And it's just going to be a wild, crazy year next year. It'll be especially crazy if and when the SEC moves some people in, Texas and Oklahoma, and then where they're going to put 2 teams to make it even on the East and the West. I have a sneaking suspicion it might be Auburn and Bama that move to the East, would be my guess, if we're going strictly off geography. And that could create a whole new kettle of fish for the,
I think we'll divide them.
SEC.
I think we'll get
They're going to have
Texas
to do the pod
in the
thing,
East and Oklahoma in the West.
Yeah, but how are you going to work that though? Like,
It's so many teams.
I feel like the best, if you're gonna draw a line down the middle of the conference, you're gonna have to move Auburn and Alabama to the East, which would be nice if Tennessee's not the only people that have to play friggin' Alabama every year. Just saying.
I have a question for Jack and Wes. I'm very curious. We talk about Stetson Bennett and how lovely this story is. One advice, Stetson: don't post getting drunk before an interview and doing other extracurricular activities on your Snapchat prior to going on Good Morning America. It goes around the internet.
He was just tired.
Jesse, he's a champion. He can do whatever he wants.
I'm just saying, pro tip.
He's got the shoes of a champion, right, Matt?
Every guy
not the shoes of champion.
The coolest thing ever. Hilarious.
I know. But my question for you guys is, obviously Stetson Bennett's the guy that got you there. He's the guy that ultimately sealed the deal. Do you think number one, do you think you get to the national championship? And number two, do you think you win the national championship with JT Daniels instead of Stetson Bennett?
No.
So when you watch the number of times that the defense got to the quarterback, gosh, how many sacks would have been? When you look at the way that Stetson was able to get away from the pressure and roll out, even on some incompletions that he had, I mean, in my mind, every single one of those would have been a sack of JT.
And with how injury prone it seems JT Daniels is, I don't think he lasts the whole game.
True. And there's a lot of speculation going on because, everybody gets an extra year of eligibility because of COVID. So it actually seems like Stetson will probably be back next year, because it's not like he doesn't exactly have a bright NFL future. So
why not ride it one more time?
He may stick it out, in which case, now our quarterback room is getting full again. And we have, some more interesting situations to talk about.
Finally, Kirby can say, I figured out a quarterback controversy. Shut up and leave me alone.
Right. Yeah. He did say that.
Who'd have thought the walk-on would be it from the man who gets
Who
5 stars
knew?
off trees?
Oh, I love it because he stuck with them, had to answer all the questions. But anyway, I want to go ahead and get to your thoughts, Jack, on the game, and then I have a couple of questions for you to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, well, so first off, the game was, I became a Bulldog fan at 3. If you saw my Instagram post, my dad moved to vet school in '96. So I've been a Georgia fan since the Jim Donnan years. And this was definitely, besides graduating, all the basics, normal stuff, like meeting my wife or getting married and all that stuff. That was definitely the most fun and exciting, fulfilling day I'd ever have as a life. And it comes from me not only being a Georgia fan, but having been a walk-on, having been a football player at Georgia, having suffered some of the Bama losses where I was 5 yards away from beating Notre Dame, because Jesse knows we would have beat them just as bad as they did that year because Notre Dame was trash.
Yep.
It was really special to me to see, I got to go see this team this year. I live in Athens now. It was definitely an amazing to see. And then seeing, I don't know if you guys saw the videos of downtown Athens, but it was a war zone.
Yeah.
It was absolutely chaos. And I'm really glad I watched that at my house with my parents, which was special to me because, when you're with your families, and it was my parents and my wife, and my dad took me to all the Georgia games. He was growing up, they were there for me all the walk-on years. They were always my biggest fans. And, my most special moments are going to games with my dad, most people have when I have a little kid, if I have a son or a daughter, I'm going to do the same thing. So it's having my parents there and knowing that they steered me to this thing that brought me a lot of joy and happiness and tears before this, and happy tears. And have my wife there, who I met at a Georgia game essentially weekend, and how we live here. So to get the sappy stuff out of the way, it was very special. And Jesse and all them can laugh at us, because we haven't had him before. But I imagine, Jesse, if you were in our shoes, if you had just had this, you would be, I'm sure. I talked to Cody, my best friend, I know her through, and we would have. Cody told me, he even told me after the second 26, he was actually kind of bummed for me because he wanted me to have one because he knew how much fun they were for Bama fans. They've had enough.
Oh yeah.
Not joking away, but so that was why it was really special. I drove around town the next morning before I went to work for some stuff, and the bookstores, there were lines out the bookstores, and it was 9 a.m. There were people outside the Butts Mirror. There were about 50, 60 people outside the Butts Mirror 4 hours before the team even showed up from the airport.
Yeah.
All of those bookstores had all the championship stuff already sold out. I went in there to go see the view of it because I already bought all my stuff at 3 a.m. still drunk from the night before the game. So I've already probably bought $200 worth of championship stuff, and I don't care. I do not care. And so, yeah, the game, though, from a football standpoint, it was really interesting to watch because you could see that Bama really brought it defensively. You could tell they did their homework. Christian Harris had an amazing game. That guy was all over the field. He made some money. And you could tell early on that our defense had made some adjustments, that they were getting after it. I think we all thought I thought when that fumble happened, the first few plays, that was a touchdown. I was like, here we go. And then I saw it got turned away, and I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to happen. But the defense, I thought, played great. The offense, you could tell, was struggling to have some rhythm. Stetson, you could tell needed to calm down. The whole offense did, And then definitely a field goal battle early on. Paul did great. Alabama's kicker, Reichert, where they finally found a kicker. I give him credit. They did. Mm-hmm. He didn't miss a kick.
We talked about that during the game too.
Oh yeah. But because imagine if that had been the kickers of our colleges, Jesse. It would have been a 6-0 game possibly.
It would have been 0 points.
They maybe even missed 2 extra points for all we know. But really though, halftime comes. I also, by the way, I went into the game thinking I'm rooting for us, obviously, but I was fully expecting Alabama to win. I was ready to be hurt. The whole game, I wasn't getting too high, too much. I was just fully expecting us to get something to happen. And then when Stetson had that, I'm not even calling it a fumble because that was one of the weirdest fumbles I've ever seen. The ball ended up 15 yards down the field. That was a pass, and the guy caught it like you're going out of bounds on practice, just catching a ball.
Right, that was funny.
And he was this close to being out of bounds. That was the weirdest. But anyway, they got the ball back, and then every Georgia fan it's early fourth quarter. You're like, oh boy, here we go. We've seen this before every time, And then they score a touchdown on the 3rd and goal, which our red zone defense was phenomenal. I couldn't believe that we held the Heisman guy to that. It was crazy. And then Stetson just comes out the next drive and says, I'm going to have the balls to do this, and no one's going to stop me. And just went out there and zing, zing, sack, zing, and just throws it right over to Mitchell, which was a beautiful pass. That was a Bryce Young
I don't know how
pass.
our defender didn't turn around.
It was a Bryce Young pass. Like, those were the passes that everyone's talking about all year. And I know I've been on the show all year with you guys, but I'll tell you right now, Stetson Bennett is a phenomenal deep ball quarterback. For everyone that says, oh, we want JT, his arm's stronger, I'm like, man, go watch the tape. That guy can spin it. He can put it right on the money. There are passes after passes all year where he's putting it right there. He doesn't throw balls. Like, when he gets that play action offense that's his bread and butter, like Kirby talked about with Reese Davis the next day. And he just spun it right there. Exactly what a veteran QB should do. When you have a guy jump off sides like that, free play, just go for it. Because even if you don't complete it, the play doesn't count anyway. If it goes out of bounds or it's incomplete.
Well, even that first one with Pickens, first long one. So
yeah, and
I'm trying to figure out how Pickens only had one catch in that entire game. They must have had him covered up. It's the only thing I can
Well, there was another big PI call on him later too.
That's true. That's true.
Well, not on him, but you know what I mean.
And then defense comes back, holds them. Like they'd been doing all game. I credit our punter and our special teams. They won. The punter is our kickoff guy. He hits out of the end zone every time. And then when we did get stalled early on, he was pinning Bama. He was flipping the field. And he was putting Bryce in the making, hey, y'all got to go earn it. I'm going to make y'all go 80, 90 yards instead of 60 or 50. And that's a big deal for a defense. When you know that you got them in your they got 80 yards to go, and same for an offense. You're like, man, I know we're explosive, but man, you got to go 80 yards every play. That's a lot of pressure on them. So for him to put them in that situation really helped them a lot. And then we come back, Stetson throws a pretty ballsy throw. We come out and run it. And then 3rd and 1, and you throw a little like screen dump pass to Bowers, which I thought Battle was going to tip it. And I was like, oh, here we go. A tip pass all over again. Like Georgia fan. Like that was my PTSD. Because I was right there in that corner during that game when they did that for comedy. And Bowers catches it, scores, and that's when I thought, man, oh my God, it's 3 minutes, like it's 8 points, it's still a single possession game, but man, we got it. I was more excited because tight ends, that's my family. Our tight end group chat that we all have from our guys who played, it was going insane. During that, our coach Lily, my coach who's now at UNC, was even getting really excited for us, which is awesome. But then Bryce comes out, they throw a couple of passes. I thought the play that doesn't get talked about enough, that people are, everyone's talking about the Ringo catch, the Bowers touchdown, the Mitchell catch, all that stuff. When Brian Robinson got that slant pass, he was gone. Like, if that guy didn't tackle him, Chris Smith, he's gone. And it's right down the middle of the field. And it's, it might be tie game at that point. But our guy tackles him. And then, like 2 plays later, Bryce throws the pick and Keeley gets it. And you just see I think I didn't even really watch the entire interception return. I was too busy freaking out with my family, hugging and kissing the whole time. So we had to rewind it. And then he scores. And then I think we all fell down. Our dogs were barking, everybody. I think the entire state of Georgia's decibel level went up this high, and then game blouses. It's over. And you had to wait till the clock hit. I didn't believe it was going to happen until the clock hit final. I was like, because every Georgia fan knew that something could happen. Keeley's running back, pop the ball, something,
Right.
Some referee says, oh, he was offsides, the defender. How is it the cornerback offsides? Something weird like that. So those are my short thoughts. So I'm happy to hear.
Did you see Kirby, though? To your point, did you see Kirby as soon as
Kirby had been working on his box jumps?
That too. But did you see when he was running it back? As soon as he caught the ball, Kirby was going, get down, the whole time.
Which is what Keeley should have done, to be fair. But when you got that convoy ahead of you, you're go. And the good thing for him was he's right by the sideline. So if he's feeling any threat, he can just go out the sideline. But I think when he saw, how are you going to tell that kid, hey, man, the open alley's there to seal the game.
Right.
To get down. I know Kirby, that's the right thing to do, but It's
Right.
funny because you see him go down, down, down. He gets everybody goes, go, 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 go.
Right. Yeah. As he got further down the field, he's like, oh, nope, never mind, kid. Just keep going. So
my favorite photo is of Mary Beth Smart and her kids just celebrating there in the end zone. You see it if you look on the view, and that's pretty awesome, because I mean, Jess could speak from a women's perspective, but imagine that coach's wife, the stress she's felt the last 5-6 years.
yeah.
Like, I don't think there is anyone happier than besides all the people that could have been happy in there. The happiest person besides the obvious is Mary Beth Smart, because she gets to not carry the brunt anymore, and her husband can relax, just get that big monkey off his back, and he can do whatever he needs to from now on, or hopefully I'm winning national championships, I want us to do the right thing, I want to be proud of the program I was a part of for 4 years and still help out and donate, and all that stuff too. But I'll take this. I can die a happy man.
Right.
That was so awesome.
And he
I know Jess felt probably the same way after the Rose Bowl. You're in your junior, you're like, man, that was awesome. I can die now. But and then here you go.
And Kirby doesn't
Natties
have to.
don't get old. I'll tell you that. They never.
No, I bet they don't.
He doesn't have to listen to the Mark Richt comparisons any longer, which were kind of getting ridiculous anyway.
No, they weren't.
And that's not
No,
a
they
slight.
weren't. They were not getting ridiculous.
Not
They weren't ridiculous. The numbers don't lie, Wes.
well. Hold on. Before we go any further, I want to be clear. That's not a slight. I did like Mark Richt. It's not that I didn't like the guy, but I understand where people are coming from when they make that comparison. They're trying to say that Kirby wasn't ever going to be able to win the big one. And obviously we already knew that he was doing better because he at least got us to one national title game and now two. And then fortunately the team was able to seal the deal and quiet that conversation. So to your point, Jack, that
I work out here at a gym run by Coach Rick and his son here in Athens. They have one of those D1 ones run by the fullback for Tennessee, for Peyton Manning, which is really cool. They have like a combine style gym that are out, throughout the country that they do. It was where Tebow trained. And the guy who runs it is, I think his name is Bartholomew. He was the fullback for Tennessee during Peyton's years.
Yeah, I remember.
You know that name. So, but I talked to John Rick, coach's son, before the game, like a few days before, and he said that his dad he decided he really wanted to go to the game, to be there, for them. So they were him and his son, Coach Rick and his son and their other son were up in the box at the game as well. So that was really cool. You can tell the coach was really excited and happy. You could tell on social media afterwards, because I mean, imagine the amount of time and splits and tears he put into it.
Absolutely.
Georgia. I mean, it's something to say. I'm sure Bama had more coaches that were like retired after Georgia, because every coach that's coached at Georgia, aside from Rick, has pretty much retired, after the job. But from Vince Dooley, Ray Goff, Jim Donnan, Coach Rick, they all live in Athens, which tells you a lot about
our coaches don't.
Yeah, Tuscaloosa isn't exactly like a really retirement kind of vibe.
Well, our coaches typically get.
They also get ran out of town.
Our coordinators get poached.
That's
so they don't. Yeah. They go somewhere else.
Yeah, they do.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, you're welcome for giving him to you. You're welcome for giving him to you. He came to Bama from Georgia, so you're welcome.
Yep. But
wait a minute. Wait, hold on. You can't say that, because he came from LSU, and then he came from Miami, and then he came from Bama.
Well, ultimately.
Just calling it what I see.
Yeah.
There's UGA next to his alma mater. So
it was always in his heart.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Always in his heart.
So
yeah, no, I mean, and for us, yeah, some of our coaches, before Saban, our coaches did get run out of town because they were terrible. We were a terrible program. It was rough years. I had to hear another Auburn fan being like, fear the thumb. Just no. And then we finally, in 2007 get Coach Saban, and he really turned our program completely around.
Yeah, Jesse, now you can tell them that fear the thumb of national championships I have.
This is a fun conversation for me, by the way, just so we're all clear on that. Being on the other end of the spectrum. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Just keep telling me how it'll get better.